Hello everyone, and welcome to the third and final part of the Count Zinzendorf series, and also of his legacy for the Moravian Church. The Count, along with his daughter, Benania, set sail for North America from the coast of England on September 28, 1741. Gale force winds along the English coast delayed their arrival to North America until November. Upon arrival in Pennsylvania, Zinzendorf found that the state was home to several different religions. According to Spangenberg, the relationship amongst these religions was filled with harsh words and bigoted views. Zinzendorf was concerned with the Lutherans in the area and was also preparing for the arrival of Moravians from Germany. Lutherans had written to the Count for several years requesting a minister, but decided to settle first by acquiring a church in Philadelphia. Zinzendorf's trip would be spent exploring Pennsylvania and New York, with days of rest on Sundays following common religious practices. Satisfied with the Moravian settlement of Bethlehem and the Lutheran town of Germantown, Zinzendorf ended his stay in North America on December 31st, 1742. Still in exile by 1745, Zinzendorf moved to Red Lion Square in Holborn, London, and remained there for 3.5 years. His teachings while there had its opposition, especially since Lutheranism was not a recognized religion in England. English Moravians who showed allegiance to Luther were viewed as dissenters from the Church of England. Despite being unable to return to Herrnhut, Zinzendorf continued operating a high position in the Moravian Church. By order of the German king in 1747, the Count's 10-year banishment came to an end. Spangenberg wrote of the Count's jubilee. The Count felt sincerely grateful for the resolution of the Saxon Church to have the cause of the Brethren thoroughly investigated, and his particular esteem and devotedness to that illustrious was thereby reanimated. In the early 1750s, middle-aged Zinzendorf began to reside in England again. While there, the Count oversaw an important move for the Moravian Church. In 1752, the church purchased 100,000 acres in western North Carolina from Lord Granville. This tract of land, later named Wachovia, would establish an important Moravian settlement in the rich history of the state. A great loss affected the Count when his son, Christian Renatus, died of tuberculosis on May 28th. Zinzendorf would step back from the church for a period to mourn the loss of his son and place deacons in charge of church affairs. The first 6 weeks of 1754 were met with great illness for the Count, eventually leading him to full bed rest. At the same time, the number of those who opposed his teachings in England increased. Some of his dissenters believed he showed too much tolerance, but at times Zinzendorf reacted harshly, turning friends into enemies. To curtail the growing negative writings, the Count published a pamphlet in May of 1754 entitled "The Plain Case of the Representatives of the Unitas Fratrum." This was an historical account of how the Moravians had acted in England since 1727. Zinzendorf left London for the last time on June 2, 1755, destined for Herrnhut. The following year, the global conflict known as the 7 Years' War began. Travel to and from Europe and to North America was a dangerous journey. Another great personal loss befell the Count quite suddenly. Countess Erdmouth Dorothea died peacefully on June 19, 1756. The Countess was laid to rest on June 30th, greatly missed by the Count and Herrnhut residents. By June 1757, close advisors to the Count recommended he enter upon another marriage to end his inactivity regarding affairs of the church. The person who filled Countess Erdmouth's place would be Anna Nishman, the Count's associate and in her 27th year as female elder of the church. The two were married on June 27th at his home, Berthelsdorf. Sudden illness in the early weeks of 1758 reduced the Count's overall health for the rest of his life. In his biography, he was quoted as saying, "He, God, give us gently from one day to another, and when he perceives that a matter must be brought up out of the depth of his providence, for which we naturally could not prepare ourselves, he conceals the thing from us, and does not suffer the idea of it to occur to us. Previous illness had taken a significant toll on Zinzendorf's quality of life by 1760. Now, pneumonia afflicted the Count so severely where sleep was quite difficult. Growing weaker by the day from no rest, the Count fell deathly ill around midday and retired to his bed. By the 9th, he called upon his closest members from the church, including his son-in-law, Jean van Watteville. The room was bursting with 100 friends and family of the Count. At the 9th hour on this 9th day of May, 1760, Count Nicholas von Zinzendorf departed this life just shy of his 60th birthday. I leave this Count Zinzendorf series with the words of von Watteville's on the Count's passing: "Lord, now let us thou thy servant depart in peace."